Veteran politician Vernon Mwanga has described the death of fourth Republican President Ruphiah Banda a big loss to Zambia as well as the African continent. Mr. Mwanga says President Banda was a statesman with vast experience who contributed immensely to the country in the various roles. Speaking in an interview with MUVI TV News Sunday, Mr. Mwanga says Mr. Banda has died with his expertise while still needed in the nation a few months after the change of government. He says Mr. Banda, who he describes as a long-life brother, will be remembered for various roles in which he served the country, including his role in the peaceful transition of power in the August 12, 2021 general elections. He says current politicians should emulate the late Republican president by practicing politics of peace that they practiced together.
Well, first of all, when I heard about the death of my brother Arabi, who had just returned from Dubai where he was receiving treatment, I went into shock. It was hard for me even to eat food. I just drank water that day and said, I'm not myself, so I better not begin getting involved in issues relating to food. So losing a man like Arabi for the country means a lot, because Arabi was a consummate diplomat. He was also a consummate mediator himself. He was a Pan-Africanist who believed in everything that the Organization of African Unity believed in at that time. And when Arabi left Cairo, he was posted as ambassador to Washington, to the United States. And I was at the United Nations in New York. And usually the two missions work together in terms of sharing information, in terms of what's happening in Washington and what's happening at the United Nations. So we continued this relationship with Arabi. He would come to the United Nations during the General Assembly and serve on one of the committees and go back. And when the General Assembly was on break, politics is not war. Politics is about advancing ideas. Occasionally these ideas will differ, which is what happens when there is a difference. And even when you have got differences, democracy has a way of accommodating differences. So when you disagree, you agree to disagree, and it ends there. It's not about war.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mwanga has called for effort in looking after freedom fighters, stating measures are not enough. Mr. Mwanga says the current situation of some freedom fighters is saddening, as most of them are failing to feed their families. He says as part of freedom fighters, he is planning to initiate a discussion with government to try and come up with initiatives of helping freedom fighters.
To go to the market, and poor health, collapse on the way. So we have actually initiated a discussion with government about this issue to see if there is a way in which freedom fighters, and there are not so many left now, who are participating in the struggle for independence on a full-time basis. There are very few. To help freedom fighters who fought for the country, they shouldn't feel that their sacrifices were worthless, because the struggle was hard. It was hard. It was not easy. We went without food. There are times when we had to visit our members at very strategic times of the day, in the hope that we would be invited for lunch or dinner. And our relatives had to come up with some money to enable us just to survive. So I was fortunate. I came from a family that was enlightened. The sisters were educated. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a teacher. So they used to send some money through the post office, which enabled me and my staff, since I was the head of the office, at least to buy food and live. So the struggle was not easy, and I think that freedom fighters deserve better recognition, and they deserve better help than what I've seen so far. It's not enough to give them medals, because medals will not produce food, will not put food on their tables.